Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We'd love to know, where are you watching us from? Also, do you enjoy the stories we share here? We're really curious about your personal experiences related to what we talk about. Please feel free to share them in the comment below. Your stories and thoughts mean a lot to us, and they help build a great community. Let's get the conversation started. Enjoy the video. Help, help, he won't let go. Jake's voice tore through the stadium, panicked, shrill, and cracking from terror. For a moment, everything froze. The music stopped. The crowd fell silent, then erupted in screams. From the pool's edge, another trainer shouted, "Emergency protocol! Pull the net! Pull the net!" But the net wouldn't move. Another trainer ran to the alarm. Her hands trembled as she hit it. Knox isn't responding. He's not responding. Children in the stand were crying. Parents stood, hands over mouths. Phones were raised, capturing the horror in real time. Jake surfaced one last time. Blood streamed down his face. His mouth barely formed the words, "Please help me." Then Knox dragged him underwater again. And this time, Jake Lawson did not come back up. February 17th, a warm afternoon in Onwald. The stand were full. Kids were laughing, cameras flashing, a spectacle of tame nature. Or so they thought. Jake Lawson was the face of the park. A seasoned trainer with 15 years of experience working with Orcas. Fearless, respected, beloved, but behind the applause lurked a predator. 12,000 pounds of power, a mind shaped by years of captivity. And that day, something snapped. You're watching a cageless encounter, where the most shocking animal attacks come alive. If this story grabs you, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and share, because what you're about to see is only the beginning. Jake Lawson wasn't just a trainer. He was a trainer, the one on every brochure, every promo video, every Ocean San Diego tour. For 15 years, Jake gave everything to the park and the orcas living behind its tall glass walls. He didn't just perform with them. He lived for them. To the public, Jake was charismatic. To his colleagues, fearless. To the whales, family. He started as a part-time feeder at 19, a biology student with a quiet passion for marine life. But it didn't take long for park executives to see something special in him. Jake connected with the animals, especially the orcas. They responded to his voice, his presence, even his silence. By 25, Jake was an elite trainer. By 30, head of the park's Orca program. His colleagues called him the whale whisperer. Jake never used fear, never raised his voice, never forced performances, yet the orcas followed him. But that connection came at a price. Jake did more free swims, those rare, unprotected swims in the pool, than any other trainer in history. He believed trust was stronger than protocol. Even when others raised concerns, Jake brushed them off. "If you treat them like killers, that's what they'll become," he'd say. "Treat them like partners, they'll protect you." And for 15 years they did, until one no longer did. Jake's relationship with Canna, a massive male orca, spanned nearly 10 years. Canna was born in captivity. 12,000 pounds of muscle, intelligence, and instinct raised behind glass walls and stadium spotlights. He had never seen the open ocean, never felt the call of the wild. Jake believed he understood Canna better than anyone. He had trained him since youth, watched him grow into the park's most impressive performer. Their routines were flawless, their bond unbreakable, or so it seemed. Jake often said Canna wasn't just an animal. He was a partner, a friend, family. But Jake didn't understand that even family can become deadly when pushed too far. And on February 17th, those limits were shattered in the worst way. Ocean World San Diego spans 190 acres along Southern California's coast, attracting over 4 million visitors a year with thrilling marine mammal shows. The park's main attraction, the Orca Stadium, a massive 7-million square foot complex with interconnected pools, seating 5,500 spectators. The main performance pool measures 150 feet long, 80 feet wide, and 36 feet deep. Impressive by human standards, but a prison cell for creatures meant to swim 1,000 miles in the open sea. The complex houses 8 orcas, But Canna is in a league of his own. Born in Ocean in 2008, Canna has never known life beyond concrete walls and chemically treated water. He's 22 feet long, weighs around 12,000 pounds, and possesses the raw strength to crush bone with a single bite. His massive size and distinctive bent dorsal fin make him the undisputed star of every show. But Canna's behavioral history reveals disturbing patterns. Patterns that park leadership repeatedly downplayed or concealed. In 2019, during a fully sold-out show, Canna refused to perform. He floated motionless in the center of the pool for over 20 minutes as 5,500 disappointed guests watched. The incident was dismissed as temporary disorientation, despite clear signs of psychological distress. Internal documents, later revealed in a lawsuit, show 18 documented incidents involving Canna between 2018 and 2023. These included threatening posture toward trainers, destruction of pool equipment, and episodes of redirected aggression, attacking inanimate objects when unable to reach a target. Ocean's official safety protocols required multiple trainers during Orca interactions, an emergency team stationed around every pool. But budget cuts and staff shortages often led to violations of these rules, especially during routine training sessions. The park's insurance premiums increased 280% over 5 years due to trainer injuries, creating financial pressure to minimize incident reports. Former senior trainer Lisa Chun, who worked with Canna for 4 years before leaving in 2022, later revealed that management actively discouraged documenting disturbing behavior. It was clear that difficult animals reflected poorly on us as trainers, she said. Chen explained the unspoken rule. Handle it quietly. Keep the revenue flowing. Don't create legal problems. The economic stakes were massive. Canna alone generated roughly $35 million annually through ticket sales, premium experiences, and merchandise. Removing him from shows would devastate the park's financial outlook, creating overwhelming incentives to ignore rising red flags and maintain a dangerous business model. As always, the winter months of 2023 brought increasingly ominous shifts in Canna's behavior, shifts that should have triggered immediate alarm among Ocean staff. Marine mammal experts who later reviewed the footage identified several critical warning signs that were either misinterpreted or completely ignored by park management. Starting in December 2022, Canna began displaying stereotypic behavior, repetitive actions indicative of serious psychological stress in captive animals. He would swim the same figure-8 pattern for hours, occasionally stopping to slam his rostrum violently against the pool walls, sending audible thuds throughout the facility. These behaviors, never observed in wild orcas, are considered by experts to be clear signs of psychological breakdown. Even more alarming was a shift in Canna's behavior specifically toward Jake Lawson. After years of flawless cooperation, the massive orca began to show subtle signs of dominance and aggression during training sessions. He approached Jake more slowly than usual, maintaining intense eye contact, recognized by experienced trainers as a sign of threat. During one session in January, Canna splashed so forcefully that he knocked Jake off the training platform, an action dismissed as playful despite its aggressive undertone. Dr. Michael Torres, a marine behaviorist who had consulted for Ocean World until his contract ended in 2022, later testified that he had raised serious concerns about Canna's deteriorating psychological condition. I observed clear signs of chronic stress, aggression, and what appeared to be developing psychosis, Dr. Torres stated. Repetitive actions, fluctuating appetite, increasing hostility toward familiar trainers. These weren't subtle. They were emergency-level warnings that the animal was approaching a full mental collapse. On February 3rd, just 2 weeks before the fatal attack, Canna refused to participate in a training session. He floated motionless at the surface for over 3 hours, ignoring increasingly desperate attempts by staff to engage him. When Jake finally entered the water to assess the situation, Canna lunged at him at terrifying speed, stopping just inches from contact before retreating to the far end of the pool. The incident rattled the nearby staff, but Jake, in his characteristic confidence, dismissed their concerns. He's just testing boundaries, Jake told his worried colleagues. Canna and I understand each other. He would never hurt me. The most alarming warning came on February 14th, just 3 days before the tragedy. During routine pool maintenance, Canna grabbed a cleaning tool and subjected it to what marine biologists call a death shake, a violent thrashing motion used by orcas to stun prey before consumption. This behavior continued for several minutes and was witnessed by multiple staff members, but was never officially logged or investigated. Jake's final journal entry, made the night before his death, shows his complete inability to recognize the escalating danger. Canna seems restless lately, but I know he trusts me completely. Tomorrow's show will be perfect. We've been partners too long for anything to go wrong. Less than 18 hours later, that misguided belief cost Jake Lawson his life. February 17th, 2023. The Southern California sun blazes over Ocean World San Diego, where 5,200 excited visitors gather in the Orca Stadium for the long-awaited Titans of the Deep show. The air buzzes with anticipation. Families take their seats. Children clutch plush orcas. Parents adjust cameras, ready to capture the magic they traveled across the country to witness. Jake Lawson stands in the prep zone, methodically checking his gear before performance. Today is a special day, his 15th anniversary as an orca trainer and his 1,000th performance with Canna. The park's marketing team had heavily promoted the event as a testament to the unbreakable bond between man and whale. Around 2 p.m., Jake enters the trainer's room for a final briefing with the support crew. Surveillance footage shows him relaxed and confident, joking with colleagues about weekend plans and reviewing the show's choreography one last time. None of them noticed the subtle signs of stress in Canna's behavior. Irregular breathing, restless pacing, and frequent jaw-popping, all known indicators of impending aggression to experienced behaviorists. At 2:15 p.m., the show begins with Ocean World's iconic opening, an elaborate choreographed sequence featuring all 8 orcas. The crowd bursts into applause as the massive creatures glide across the water in perfect sync to a John Williams orchestral score. Everything feels flawless, magical, safe, but backstage, monitors reveal troubling details invisible to the audience. Canna's movements are more erratic than usual. His breathing is rapid and shallow. His massive dorsal fin quivers with stress, another warning sign recognized by senior trainers. Still, the show continues as planned. At 2:30 p.m., Jake makes his grand entrance, jogging onto the stage to thunderous applause. He waves energetically at the crowd, his infectious smile radiating confidence and joy to thousands of spectators. The bond between Jake and Canna has long been the centerpiece of Ocean World's branding, and anticipation for their act reaches its peak. At 2:35 p.m., the program begins flawlessly, with Canna's signature high-speed laps around the pool. To the audience, every movement appears perfectly timed, a beautiful dance between species, symbolizing the pinnacle of human-animal partnership. Children gasp in awe. Parents snap photos. The atmosphere is electric, but experienced observers in the control room notice disturbing patterns. Canna's responses to Jake's signals are slightly delayed. His movements are sharper, less fluid. Most concerning, his eyes remain locked on Jake with unnerving intensity. Even seasoned trainers watching from observation points begin to feel uneasy. At 2:40 p.m., the show reaches its climax. The underwater segment, where Jake is to swim beside Canna in a breathtaking display of trust and partnership. The music swells. Jake removes his safety gear, preparing for a free swim that defined his career for over a decade. As Jake enters the water, the crowd holds its breath in awe. This is the moment they came for, man and orca moving in perfect harmony, a testament to the power of mutual understanding and respect. At 2:45 p.m., Jake positions himself in the center of the pool. Canna approaches from the depths. For a few seconds, everything appears normal. The massive orca glides gracefully toward his trainer. Their movements are perfectly synchronized with the orchestral score. Then, without warning, everything changes. Instead of the expected gentle interaction, Canna's behavior instantly shifts from cooperative to predatory. His powerful jaws clamp down on Jake's torso with bone-crushing force, and the 12,000-pound orca begins a violent thrashing motion, the same technique wild orcas use to stun and kill prey. Jake's screams of agony pierce the stadium as he is dragged underwater. The crowd's applause turned to horrified gasps as they realized this is not part of the show. This is a real attack, unfolding before their eyes. The crystal-clear water begins to cloud with blood as Canna subjects Jake to what marine biologists call prey processing, a systematic dismemberment technique used by orcas in the wild. Emergency alarms echo throughout the facility as staff scramble to process the unthinkable. Backup trainers rush to initiate emergency protocols, using air horns, underwater acoustic devices, and food rewards in a desperate attempt to distract Canna and force him to release Jake. But the massive orca ignores every intervention, maintaining his lethal grip as he dives to the pool's deepest point with his victim. Panicked guests begin evacuating the stadium, while security personnel try to maintain order. Children scream uncontrollably as parents shield them from a horror in the water. Some visitors, frozen in shock, remain motionless in their seats, unable to process what they're witnessing. After several excruciating minutes underwater, Canna briefly surfaces, Jake's limp body still clenched in his jaws. The trainer shows no signs of consciousness. His body hangs lifelessly, displaying the unmistakable limpness of massive trauma or death. Blood continues to pour from multiple wounds, forming a growing crimson cloud in the once clear pool. For a moment, it seems a nightmare may be ending. Then Canna gives a violent shake of his head and dives again, dragging Jake's body down one final time. Emergency responders from Ocean World arrive at the poolside with medical equipment and dive gear, but safety protocols prohibit them from entering the water while the orca remains in an aggressive state. Helpless, medical personnel watch as Canna continues the attack at the bottom of the pool, occasionally surfacing just long enough to reveal the extent of Jake's injuries, then disappearing again into the depths. In one final, horrific display of predatory behavior, Canna surfaces and slowly releases Jake's mangled body. The trainer floats motionless in the bloodied water. His wet suit is torn apart. The injuries are clearly fatal. The massive orca then retreats to the far end of the pool, swimming calmly, as if exhausted from his violent outburst. Rescue divers immediately enter the water to retrieve Jake Lawson, but it is already too late. The man who had dedicated his life to understanding and protecting these majestic predators had become their victim in the most brutal way imaginable. At 2:55 p.m., members of the emergency dive team recovered Jake Lawson's lifeless body from the orca pool as thousands of stunned spectators look on in silence. Paramedics immediately begin intensive CPR, working desperately for 27 minutes while shocked families are evacuated from the stadium. Despite their heroic efforts, Jake is officially pronounced dead at 3:20 p.m. by paramedics from the University of California, San Diego Medical Center. The preliminary autopsy revealed catastrophic trauma, massive damage to the chest and abdomen, multiple fractured ribs, extensive internal bleeding, and what the coroner described as systematic dismemberment consistent with predatory orca behavior. The report concluded that Jake's injuries were incompatible with life, and death likely occurred within the first 2 minutes of the attack. Ocean World immediately cancels all remaining shows and evacuates the entire park. Within hours, the San Diego County Sheriff's Department launches a full criminal investigation, interviewing witnesses, reviewing surveillance footage, and examining the park's safety protocols. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, announces its own inquiry into potential workplace safety violations, which could result in millions of dollars in fines. Park CEO Daniel Morrison holds an emergency press conference at 4 p.m. His voice shakes as he reads a carefully crafted statement. "We are devastated by the tragic loss of Jake Lawson, one of our most experienced and beloved team members. This appears to be an isolated incident involving unpredictable animal behavior. Tragic, but reflective of the inherent risks of working with apex predators." The statement carefully avoids mentioning Canna's history of aggression or the mounting warning signs that preceded the attack. Public reaction is swift and furious. Former trainers and animal rights activists immediately dispute Ocean World's version of events and demand transparency regarding safety procedures. By midnight, news of Jake's death is spread to every major media outlet around the globe. Social media explodes with hashtags like #RestInPeaceJake and #EndOrcaCaptivity as people express shock and demand accountability. Disturbing video footage captured by audience members begins circulating online. Despite Ocean World's frantic legal efforts to suppress the videos, the park's stock plummets by 42% in pre-market trading as investors react to the looming legal and financial disaster. Insurance companies launch their own investigations, threatening to revoke Ocean World's coverage unless drastic new safety measures are implemented immediately. Meanwhile, Canna has moved to a secure holding tank, where he is sedated by veterinarians as officials debate his fate. The Orca, who once brought in tens of millions in revenue, is now considered too dangerous ever to perform again. Dr. Renata Marino, a neurobiologist and expert on whale cognition from the Cetacean Conservation Project, offers crucial insight into the psychological forces that made this tragedy inevitable. Orcas have highly developed brains with complex emotional and cognitive centers, Dr. Marino explains. When we confine apex predators in concrete tanks and force them to perform repetitive tricks for human entertainment, we create the perfect conditions for a violent psychological breakdown. Scientific evidence fully supports Dr. Marino's assessment. Wild orcas are among the most intelligent animals on Earth. They live in complex matrilineal societies with unique cultural traditions passed down through generations. They swim up to 100 miles a day, dive to depths exceeding 1,000 feet, and engage in intricate cooperative hunting strategies that require advanced cognitive abilities. In captivity, these extraordinary animals are reduced to performing simple tricks for food. Confined to tanks that represent less than 0.0001% of their natural range, the psychological stress of such extreme confinement manifests in numerous pathological behaviors, including repetitive movements, self-harm, aggression toward pool mates, and what experts describe as captivity-induced psychosis. Dr. Jeffrey Vontra, a former SeaWorld trainer who has witnessed similar attacks in his career, points to specific risk factors that should have resulted in Canna's immediate removal from all human contact. Repetitive swimming patterns, property destruction, and escalating aggression toward familiar trainers are classic signs of an animal approaching a complete psychological breakdown, Dr. Vontra states. Management at Ocean World either failed to recognize these warning signs or chose to ignore them because Canna was too profitable to retire. Marine biologist Dr. Ingrid Visser, who has studied wild orcas for over 25 years, emphasizes a fundamental impossibility of safely keeping these apex predators in captivity. Orcas are not domesticated, she explains. They retain all their natural hunting instincts and physical capabilities. A 12,000-pound predator capable of crushing a seal's skull with a gentle jaw squeeze will always pose an existential threat to any human in the water with them. The economic incentives driving marine entertainment facilities add further layers of danger, encouraging management to overlook safety concerns in order to preserve a profitable operation. Industry analysis shows that star orcas like Canna can generate $30 to $40 million annually through ticket sales, merchandise, and premium experiences, creating immense pressure to keep dangerous animals in active rotation. Dr. Naomi Rouse of the Animal Welfare Institute highlights the systemic failures in how marine parks manage risks involving top-level predators. These institutions treat orcas as entertainment assets, not as wild animals capable of killing people. Dr. Rouse warns, when quarterly profit reports take precedence over trainer safety, tragedies like Jake's death become a statistical inevitability. The expert consensus is clear. Jake Lawson's death was not a freak accident. It was a predictable outcome of a system that prioritizes entertainment revenue over both human safety and animal welfare. In the days following his tragic death, condolences pour in from around the world. The marine trainer community mourns one of its most respected members. Over 2,000 people attend Jake's memorial service at Ocean World, including trainers from marine parks across the globe, gather to honor their fallen colleague and friend. Jake's family establishes the Jake Lawson Marine Trainer Safety Foundation, dedicated to improving safety protocols and advocating for the end of orca captivity. His parents, Robert and Linda Lawson, release a powerful statement. Jake died doing what he loved, but his death must serve as a wake-up call for an industry that has ignored safety warnings for far too long. In the wake of Jake's death, Ocean World faces unprecedented pressure to reform. OSHA ultimately levies $200,000 in safety violation fines and mandates sweeping changes to training protocols. The facility is ordered to end all in-water interactions with Orcas, install comprehensive emergency response systems, and submit to regular safety audits by independent third parties. Moreover, Jake's tragedy becomes a catalyst for legislative change in several states. The California State Assembly passes the Jake Lawson Memorial Act, which bans the use of orcas for entertainment throughout the state. Similar bills are introduced in Florida, Texas, and New York, as public support for orca freedom reaches unprecedented levels. Several former Ocean World trainers come forward as whistleblowers after Jake's death, revealing additional safety incidents that were systematically covered up by management. Their testimony triggers federal investigations and congressional hearings, exposing the dark side of the marine entertainment industry's glossy marketing. Jake's death also accelerates the global movement to create whale sanctuaries, vast oceanic enclosures where formerly captive orcas can live out their lives in more natural conditions. The Whale Sanctuary Project cites Jake's case as urgent evidence for the need to replace traditional marine parks with humane alternatives. Dr. Lori Marino speaks at Jake's memorial, voicing the sentiments of many who knew him. Jake loved these animals with all his heart, but love alone is not enough to overcome the fundamental flaws of keeping apex predators in captivity. His death must mark the beginning of the end for this industry. 3 years later, Jake's influence continues to ripple through the world of marine entertainment. Attendance at parks declines. Corporate sponsors withdraw. Public resistance to captive orcas grows louder by the day. Jake Lawson's story stands as a tragic reminder that some relationships between humans and wild animals can never be truly safe, regardless of training, experience, or heartfelt connection. His death exposed an uncomfortable truth. Orcas, despite years of conditioning, remain apex predators capable of explosive violence when their psychological limits are breached. Jake's tragedy forces us to confront hard questions about our relationship with these magnificent creatures. How many more trainers must die before we admit that 12,000-pound predators belong in the ocean, not performing in concrete pools? When will we prioritize human safety and animal welfare over entertainment profits and shareholder returns? Yet Jake's story also shows how personal tragedy can become the seed of meaningful change. His death inspired new laws, transformed industry practices, and opened global dialogue about alternatives to captive orca performances. The foundation that bears his name continues to fight for trainers' safety and animal welfare, ensuring that Jake's legacy extends far beyond the circumstances of his death. Here at Animal Uncaged, we are committed to telling these important stories that reveal the complex and often dangerous relationships between humans and apex predators. Jake Lawson's death reminds us that respecting wild animals must always include acknowledging their capacity for violence, no matter how much we love them or believe we understand them. If this documentary moved you, please subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our latest investigations. Give this video a like if you believe Jake's story deserves to be remembered, and share it with someone who needs to understand the real risks of marine entertainment. What are your thoughts on keeping orcas in captivity after learning about Jake Lawson's tragic death? Should facilities like Ocean World still be allowed to use these apex predators for entertainment? Leave a comment below and join the conversation on how we can better protect both animals and the people who work with them. Thanks for watching Animal Uncaged. And remember, every story we tell has the power to create positive change in the world. Jake's death was a preventable tragedy, but his legacy continues to protect others through the awareness and reforms his story inspired.